VOWR800.
Hello and welcome to Going Strong, the radio program that highlights our unique culture and all those who have contributed to it and keep it going strong. My name is Deborah Collins, and usually I chat with musicians, singers, writers, artists, and actors. That's what we most often think of when we talk about our culture. But our culture is broader and richer than that, especially in downtown St. John's, which has a culture all its own, made up of many characters and community-rich shops and services. Today, I'm speaking with two men from one of the longest-standing storefronts, which for a century has kept us on our toes, kept us from dragging our heels, and injected a whole lot of soul in the service industry. Who else could I be talking about but the Modern Shoe Hospital on Duckworth Street, and the owner, Kevin Wright, and his right-hand man, Jim Whey. Welcome, guys.
Welcome, Deborah. Thank you. Deborah.
It's so good to have you here. Well, maybe I should be calling you soulmates, S-O-L-E, of course. You've worked together a long time. And Kevin, of course, you inherited the business from your father. So your family has been connected to the shoe repair business for a long time.
We have. My dad got his start at it during the Second World War.
Is that right?
Yeah. So it was a big change for him when they came into St. John's. They were from Lumsden. He started working construction when he came in here first, but he had a close call on a construction site one day, and one of his uncles suggested that he'd give shoe repair a try at their store.
Is that right?
And so that's where he got his start.
And then eventually you were brought in. You came in as a high school student, I understand,
did. Yeah? Yeah. Saturdays I would come down and give him and Ron Stokes a hand. Ron was an employee that he had at the time. That would have been 72, 73.
Well, really, I suppose you're still in the construction business in a certain way. And you're constructing a lot of things. And Jim, how about you? How did you come to work at the Modern Shoe Hospital?
Well, my dad came in and worked with Kevin's father, and the families have kind of been intertwined through the years.
And so how long have you been at the...
Since high school. I started into it while I was still in school. And that would have been in around 87.
So your fathers worked together.
Our fathers did, yep.
And now you folks
and now
are.
we do, yep.
Well, that's really cool. I can't imagine that there are many people in St. John's who aren't familiar with you folks or in the Modern Shoe Hospital, who are not walking confidently on a pair of boots or shoes that have been restored to health by the Modern Shoe Hospital. I'm actually wearing a pair of boots as we speak that you recently repaired. And when I was in your store a couple of weeks ago, the place was on wheels. What are some of the things that your customers say to you about this very necessary service?
A lot of them make comments that they want us to keep going and never shut down. So, I mean, hopefully we've got a solution for that. My son's involved too now. You know,
another generation?
Yeah. I've got two grandsons, so who knows? And Jim's got nephews that you never know. They could end up down there.
Yeah. The joke is we've got mortgages. We can't afford to retire or give it up.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of boots and shoes that need your work. And I'm thinking that a lot of people really want, as Kevin said, want you to keep going because there's not that many, repair shops around now.
It seems like a dying trade that way, yeah.
Except that it's not because there's always a need.
No, the things change through the years, but there's always, we'll find a way to fix it.
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
Well, that leads me right into my next question. I'm thinking it's a pretty specialized skill. You got to know what you're doing.
Well, you know how to use the equipment, and then you just modify that for the different types of construction that come around through the years.
And what kind of training does it require?
Oh, apprenticeship, like learn by doing. You learn from your elders or in our case, our dads, and that was basically how we picked it up.
You learn by doing and by people who have mastered it.
Yeah.
That's right.
That doesn't always happen anymore in a lot of trades. That kind of hands-on, sitting side by side and apprenticing with somebody, It feels...
It was a standard.
Yeah.
The beauty of it, too, is you can always ask, like, if I see a particular problem and I say, gee, Jim, look at this, like, why do you think we should do this? you get two heads better than one.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it's great that we have the experience that we have.
And the training that you've gotten from the other generations, you know? When I walk into the store, I actually feel like I've gone back in time. You know,
Things haven't changed a whole lot.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. I mean,
Modern.
We were modern back in 1951.
well, I was going to ask you about the name of the store. I mean, I smell the leather and the oil, and I see you guys wearing your leather aprons, and I see a full wall of, you know, shoes and boots waiting to be picked up by their owners. How similar is the setting to the way it was back in the 1920s?
I'd say more than half the equipment's the same.
Well, yes, a lot of the machinery is the same. Now we've replaced a fair bit of it, and some newer pieces of equipment make it a lot easier to repair things.
Like what would be an example?
Well, there's like lock stitcher that my dad never ever experienced one. He never had one when he worked in the shop.
A lock stitcher.
That machine allows you to sew through like 1 inch thick rubber soles right through the upper and attach the sole to the upper of the shoe. It's quite an impressive piece of machinery, and it allows you to do things that if you didn't have it, there's just no way that you could hope to do a repair.
Right.
That's right. You'd have to rely on like glue and hand tacks, and that's just not the same thing.
No.
And what kinds of things are still there that probably were there in the 20s?
Well, the shoe lasts.
The Landis Goodyear welt stitcher, that was bought in the early 60s.
And the lath. What is a lath?
Oh, last.
Last.
That's the iron shaped. It looks like a inside of a shoe there that you just put the shoe over so you can work on it. It holds it in place.
And you have shoe stretchers.
Yes.
Shoe stretchers.
How old would they be?
Torture devices.
They get it going over.
Torture devices for the shoes.
Our main ones, our four main ones, are relatively new. By relatively new, like 20 years old or so.
And, you know, which makes the name Modern Shoe Hospital so special, I think. You know, unlike most places in 2024, you don't have debit or credit, just cash, like a century ago.
We have a telephone.
Traditional.
You have a telephone, you do? Yeah.
Traditionalists.
Traditionalists,
Why, and why is that important? Like, why do you go cash only, like it was done years ago? I mean,
Cost is a big factor like that. We don't need the internet or any of that stuff like that, and it keeps the cost on the repairs down. You don't have to because there's no doubt that anytime you're using that, you're paying that extra fee. It's put into the job.
that's right.
And it's just not necessary.
Yeah.
You know.
It might be inconvenient for some people, but generally we try and tell them up front that we only take cash or check.
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of our customers are generational too.
Yeah.
Well, and certainly the people who come and love your store so much understand that. And I'm sure they'd appreciate the fact that it does keep costs down.
Sure. Absolutely.
It does. We try to keep the price down. I mean, a lot of times people buy footwear on sale. At a certain price point, they just say, well, it's just not worth my while to fix it.
Yes, that's right.
So you got to try and mitigate the cost somehow.
That's right. And I want to talk about that, you know, the whole notion of quality and that sort of thing of, you know, is new or better and all that kind of stuff. But first, I think we're going to listen to a song. And I ask all my guests to suggest one of their favorite Newfoundland or Labrador songs. And Jim, you've suggested Ordinary Day by Great Big Sea. Why do you like that song so much?
Well, it's just, it just picks you up. It's the thing, every day, I mean, you're listening to a lot of noise in media and from people, a lot of negativity. And this just kind of just highlights the positive and gives you, what's important. And I think,
And we all need a
it
lift.
always picks you up.
It does.
Right.
Well, let's let it pick us up now at Just an Ordinary Day by Great Big Sea.
I've got a smile on my face and I've got four walls around me. I've got the sun in the sky, all the water surround me. Oh, yeah, I win now, sometimes I lose. I've been battered, but I never bruise. It's not so bad. And I say, wait, hey, it's just an ordinary day, and it's all your state of mind. At the end of the day, you just got to say it's alright. Janie sings on the corner, what keeps her from dying? Let them say what they want, she won't stop trying. Oh, you know, she might stumble if they push her around. She might fall, but she'll never lie down. It's not so bad. And I say, hey, 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 it's just an ordinary day, and it's all your state of mind. At the end of the day, you just got to say it's alright. 'Cause it's alright, it's alright, it's alright. Life, there's always some sorrow, and it's a double-edged knife, but there's always tomorrow. You know, it's up to you now if you sink or swim. Just keep the faith that your ship will come in. It's not so bad. And I say, well, hey, it's just an ordinary day, and it's all your state of mind. At the end of the day, you just got to say, I say, well, hey, it's just an ordinary day, and it's all your state of mind. At the end of the day, you just got to say it's alright. 'Cause it's alright, it's alright. 'Cause I've got a smile on my face and I've got four walls around me.
And that was An Ordinary Day by Great Big Sea, a favorite of Jim Whey, one of the familiar faces and skilled hands at the Modern Shoe Hospital in St. John's. He and owner Kevin Wright are my guests today on Going Strong. And speaking of an ordinary day, it wasn't unusual to have the guys from Great Big Sea drop into your store on any given day. Alan Doyle would come by with hockey equipment, I understand, that needed a few repairs. Tell me about that.
He got some gear, I guess, from the St. John's Maple Leafs, but he's play goal, and every now and then, you know, he could break a strap on the goalie pad or need something done with a skate or a glove.
He'd come in?
He was in a fair bit.
Yeah. Now, I would say there was a bit of yarning going on when he would come in.
I used to play goal myself, so I could relate to his struggles.
And his stories, that's right. Yeah. And
last line of defense.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and that's what you guys are quite often. You do get some pretty interesting requests. I understand a few years ago you were asked to repair the platform shoes for a member of a very famous American band who was performing here in the province. Tell me about that, Jim.
Oh, that was, Paul Stanley from Kiss, had the heel linings wore out on his platform shoes. So they brought him in and we put new leather linings in the back for him.
Where were they playing?
They were playing out in Grand Falls or Gander, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was the Salmon Festival.
Yeah. So they had to rush the platform shoe into the Modern Shoe Hospital in St. John's. Yeah.
We saved it for him, yeah.
You saved the tour. Absolutely. Your establishment is certainly going strong, you know. I mean, a century basically after it opened. And as we were chatting about earlier, much has remained the same at your store over all these years. But what do you think is the biggest change from the 1900s to the 2000s?
Ooh, well, the type of construction that they're using now, there's a lot of polyurethane foam, whereas before it was mostly leather soles and rubber heels, you know, like natural rubber or latex-based rubber. Now it's more chemical, oil-based products. They're a bit more challenging to work with because there's special types of cement sometimes that you have to use to bond them.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen a lot of footwear, obviously, in your time. Is the quality better or worse these days, Jim?
It varies. That. I mean, there are still some really well-made shoes, and there's a lot that are really expensive that are not well-made at all. But there's quite a mix. But I think the older stuff, I mean, shoes would have been a lot more expensive back then. The value would have been in it for sure.
And
more
designed
than
to last. They would have been
designed to last, yeah.
Yeah.
And easy to repair.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Where now sometimes, you have to be
magician?
a bit of a magician sometimes to get stuff on. Yeah. And, sometimes we're not 100% satisfied with the way we have to do something, but we'll mention it to the customer and, if they want it, we'll do it. But,
Sometimes you might recommend, this, it's not going to look like it did.
Yeah. Right.
But there's really no other solution to it.
That's right.
And for some people, that's okay. They just want to get more life out of the uppers.
Well, exactly.
And that's the key, as far as I'm concerned, is If the uppers are in good shape and you can replace the sole, then it's worthwhile probably to do it, right?
And of course, people become very fond of a nice pair of shoes or boots. You know, they have their favorites and they just want them repaired over and over. And I'm really guilty of that. I have a couple of pairs of shoes that you're keeping on life support.
Yes. These boots that I have on here, they're Dad's.
Yeah. Really? You're wearing your father's boots?
Yeah, from the 70s. And like I said, I've had probably several pairs of soles on them.
Yes.
Now, this pair I got on here now, they're the Vibram Arctic Grip for winter wear.
Okay. Oh, look at that. That is so cool. Yeah. But they're holding up, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
So at your hospital, do you ever have to say to the patients, I'm sorry, but we've done all we can for this pair. It's time to say goodbye.
Yes, and sometimes people will agree and sometimes they don't, and they want us to do what we can anyway. And, we'll suggest, we'll be honest and give our opinion on whether we think it's worth it or not. And sometimes people listen, and sometimes they're just attached and they want to keep it going, and we can do that too. But we'll always give our opinion. I hope people appreciate it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Agree, but here's what could happen. Yeah,
yes,
so as long as you're up front, I'm sure people are fine. Yeah.
This is the thing, too, because, sometimes, like, you might repair one particular problem with the shoe, but over the course of, like, a couple of months, something else might let go. Mm-hmm. And it's like just trying to keep an old car on the road.
That's right,
You fix the brakes today, tomorrow, the transmission gives out.
That's right.
So
eventually, it has to go.
Yeah.
It has to be to go the way of the dodo bird. Well, I think it's time for another song. Kevin, you've requested Ennis Road by the Ennis Sisters. Well, I think we're still close enough to Christmas to get away with that one. I understand that you have a family connection to the band and to Ennis Road, and you've requested the song in memory of a loved one.
Yeah, my mother-in-law, Gracie Stone, she was an O'Brien from Cape Broyle. She was the Ennis sisters' mom's cousin.
Okay, so there was a family relation, yeah.
And we've attended numerous Ennis sisters concerts over the years, myself and my wife and my daughter. And,
Oh, great. So it's a lovely connection. Yeah. Well,
girls bring stuff in the store, too.
Yes, they do.
Of course, I guess they do, yes. Well, for Gracie Stone, Ennis Road by the Ennis Sisters.
Softly falling, and the sunshine glistens through the pine. The winter birds are singing oh so sweetly as we head on down to share our Christmas time. We leave that city life behind us. This is time to lighten up our load. Our humble little cabins always waiting there at the end of Ennis Road. So Merry Christmas one and all, the rich, the poor, the big, the small. The door is always open to our home. So let's raise a cup of cheer to our favorite time of year as we meet here once again on Ennis Road. The Christmas tree shines bright with lights of every color, and carols being sung by everyone. Friends are gathered all around us with the welcoming of happiness and love. So Merry Christmas one and all, the rich, the poor, the big, the small. The door is always open to our home. So let's raise a cup of cheer to our favorite time of year as we meet here once again on Ennis Road. So come and join us one and all, the rich, the poor, the big, the small. The door is always open to our home. So let's raise a cup of cheer to our favorite time of year as we meet here once again on Ennis Road. As we meet here once again on Ennis Road. Ooh, on Ennis Road.
And that was Ennis Road, a special request of Kevin Wright, owner of the Modern Shoe Hospital in the heart of downtown St. John's. He and his co-pilot, Jim Whey, are my guests today on Going Strong. And Jim, you said something to me the other day that made a lot of sense. You figure one of the reasons the modern shoe hospital is going so strong, is still thriving, is that people don't want to let go of things. You help people to hold on to things they love.
Once you've had shoes for so long, the longer you've had them, the more they shape your foot, the more comfortable they become, the harder it is to let go of them there. And it's, to help them keep them, that is quite rewarding there like that.
Yeah, well, I was going to say...
People appreciate the service.
Yeah, and what kind of satisfaction do you get when you sit down at one of those pieces of equipment and bring new life to things that people are so fond of? It must be satisfying.
It is satisfying, yes, yeah. To be able to help people like that, it always feels good to help people anyway. And, we've been at it so long, I think, I like to think we do a good job. We do put everything into what we do. And, yeah.
And it shows.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Well, Kevin, the Modern Shoe Hospital is also something of a downtown community hangout. People come in to chat and spin a yarn, And I think in a world where so much is changing, a long-standing, reliable place like yours is a pretty special thing, maybe even something of a rarity.
Well, it's somewhere that doesn't have to be just about repairing your shoes. I mean, we get into all kinds of conversations about sports and politics, and you hear people say the same thing about like at hairdressers or at barbershops. It's the same kind of congeniality, and it's enjoyable. You get different points of view, and people can correct you if you're thinking something, and you find out, I didn't realize that. It's enlightening for sure.
Like a bit of therapy. I think you must offer a bit of therapy to people. Do you solve the problems? I mean,
well, we like to get on sometimes on a little bit of a spin about the environment, and there's a lot of issues now, like global warming. It's really cropping up almost every time you look at the news now, and there's so many things there that we talk about, like recycling and stuff. But if you keep your footwear going and it doesn't end up in the dump, that's one thing where you're helping the environment.
Yeah, that's right.
So
you guys are doing your part.
Yeah.
You absolutely are. And Kevin, it also must be a good feeling to keep not such an important service going, but also a long-standing family tradition. Is that what keeps you going strong?
It's all about family, I think, really. Like, think about what my wife has to put up with. Because we've never really taken a whole lot of holidays. Like, running a small business, it's not like you can just up and go when you feel like it. There's some sacrifices that are made, for sure.
What satisfaction, though, do you get to counterbalance that?
I get, like Jim said, like enjoyment, like when you see something that you've taken and basically it was trashed, and now, it's usable again. It's fulfilling.
Yeah, I can see that. Mm-hmm. And it's also, it's a generational thing.
Well, like I say, now my boy is down here with us too, and he's been at it now for quite a while himself. Yeah. So he's picked up the little nuances of the trade.
And it's a family legacy. That's a wonderful thing.
Yes, to pass it on for generations, I suppose, it's not a common thing anymore. So it's nice to know that your business is still wanted, you're in demand.
Not many people can say in this day and age that they've been on the go for a century. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. When I think about it, they moved in that building in 1951.
The one on Duckworth?
Yeah, the one we're in now.
It started on Water Street.
It started, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't move far from the other one. You're
just
still
down the street. They were just up the street across from the War Memorial, which right now is undergoing a big facelift.
You're in the core of downtown, the heart of downtown, aren't you?
I mean, the number of businesses like that stretch, say, from Prescott Street east up toward the Newfoundland Hotel, say, it's just incredible, really, when you walk up the street, just walking up to go to the barbershop, and you look at all the businesses that are there, and there's a lot of small businesses on that stretch.
Nice to be part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
How about you, Jim? What keeps you going strong?
Well, the satisfaction of doing a lot of these jobs, and the appreciation from people for and the realization of what we do, and the ability then to make a living from that and be able to spend your time with your family and friends. That being the most important thing.
And carrying on your father's legacy.
Yes, yep, and my grandfather's. Yeah.
I mean, how many people can say that?
Well, not many now.
Yeah. There must be something really, as Kevin said, really fulfilling about that.
It is, yeah.
To have your name associated with something of such quality and such long-standing in the community. That's lovely. Well, as your last names suggest, you're doing something the right way. Kevin Wright and Jim Whey, the resident experts at the Modern Shoe Hospital in St. John's, keep doing what you do. You're keeping us in stitches and you're keeping us firmly on our feet every day. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank
you for having us.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable.
Good. It certainly was. And thanks again to both of you for taking time out of your busy schedule. That is Going Strong for this week. My name is Deborah Collins, inviting you to join us again next Tuesday evening at 7:30 right here on VOWR.